Wonderful, Prabhu. We will start with the prayer. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjanadalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukum karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripatamaham bande Shri Gurundi Natarinam Paramanandamaadavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Wonderful Prabhu, thank you for joining. Do you exactly remember what verse we were on?
We have to do 23 is what I have.
2.23. Okay, wonderful. I'll go ahead and share my screen.
I have the book with me too.
Wonderful Prabhuji, thank you. So we will start from there. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Can you see my screen, Prabhuji?
Yes.
Wonderful. We will recite it together. Nainam chindanti shastrani.
Ainam chindane sastrani,
Nainam dahati pavakaha.
nainam dahita pavakaha,
Pavakaha. Nachainam kledayanti apo.
nachainam kledanantepo,
Nasosyati marutaha.
vasasoyati marutaha.
Would you mind reading the translation, Prabhu?
Sure. The soul can never be cut into pieces by any person, nor buried by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind.
Thank you, bro. So we are on chapter 2, which is Science of the Soul, and especially the section we are on, it is actually talking about the soul's characteristics. This is actually focusing on one aspect, the soul. What are the different characteristics? So one of that which is said here is that it cannot be cut into pieces by any weapon. So, irrelevant of whether one's body is dead, once it is dead, by whatever reason, it is only the body which is actually being affected by these things, nor burnt by fire, nor moistened by water, not withered by the wind. So, the soul is so tiny. We covered that last time when we had a class, that it is, if you divide the tip of the hair by 10,000 times 100 and again again on 100, so that is the size of the soul. So it is not affected by any material instruments to actually burn, or whether it is to be withered by the wind. So that is what is being mentioned. Do you mind reading the purport, Prabhu?
Sure. All kinds of weapons, swords, flame weapons, rain weapons, tornado, tornado weapons, etc., are unable to kill the spirit soul. It appears that there were many kinds of weapon made of earth, water, air, ether, etc., in addition to modern weapon of fire. Even the nuclear weapons of modern age are classified as a fire weapons, but formerly there were other weapons made of all different types of material elements. Fire weapons were encountered, counteracted by a water weapons, which are now unknown to modern science. Nor do some modern scientists have knowledge of tornado weapons. In any case, the soul can never be cut into pieces or otherwise annihilated by
Annihilating.
annihilated by any kind of weapon. The Mayavadi cannot explain how the individual soul came into existence simply by ignorance and consequently became covered by the illusory energy. Nor was it ever possible to cut the individual soul from the original supreme soul. Rather, the individual souls are eternally separated parts of the supreme soul. Because they are atomic individual soul eternally Sanatana, they are prone to be covered by all the illusory energy, and thus they became separated from the association of Supreme Lord. Just as the sparks of fire, although one in quality with the fire, are prone to be extinguished when out of the fire. In the Varaha Purana, the living entities are described as separated parts and parts of Supreme. They are eternally so according to the Bhagavad Gita also. So even after being liberated from illusion, the living entity remains separate identity, as is evident from the teachings of Lord to Arjuna. Arjuna became liberated by knowledge received from Krishna, but he never became one with Krishna.
Very beautiful. Thank you for reading this elaborate purport. So, there are two sections in this purport. First part, Prabhupada is clarifying in earlier times, not only the fire weapons were there were a different kind of weapons which is made of earth, water, air, and ether. Right? So, that's what is being mentioned there. In today's scenario, these nuclear bombs, they are basically just the fire representation. But the second part of the purport is extremely important, and I want to elaborate more on that. Most of us have no idea about what Mayavad philosophy is. So, Mayavad philosophy is what? People who believe I am God, you are God, everyone is God. That is the problem. What they talk about is even if they speak eloquently about scriptures, but they have that misconception when I get out of this body, I'll become one with God, right? And that is why what they talk about, and this is what Prabhupada clarifies. Like a drop of water, Prabhupada gives an example about the spark from the fire. So you see, when we have bonfire, that's a, yeah, ideal example, we can connect to that, right? So some of these sparks come out. When they go away from the fire, they lose their existence,
Yeah,
right? But the spark still is a separate part. It's not, it's part of the fire, but it is not fire. Am I making sense so far?
yeah,
Which
yeah,
it has these symptoms of fire, but fire is the whole, this is an atom, right? So one thing which is being mentioned here, Prabhupada clarifies on that, that we are eternally separate living entities. Like for an example, Dora Swami Prabhu and myself, we both are different souls. We can never become one, right? And even when we get liberated, we can never become the soul of God. Soul, super soul remains super soul, and we remain as soul. Now, whether we are in perfected shape or not, give me a second, I'll just we are perfect in spiritual life and attain that spiritual abode, or whether we get attain another body, irrelevant of it, we remain individual. The only difference is that we are currently serving the external energy of God. So there are three energy of God. One is external energy, second is internal energy, and in between is the tathastha, which is marginal energy. We belong to that marginal energy. So marginal energy is supposed to be superior to external energy, which is called as Maya. But because we identify ourselves with this body, and is the manifestation of external energy, it is made of earth, water, fire, air, and ether, which is provided by external energy. And when we identify ourselves with the body, we become the material energy becomes superior, and we become inferior to the material energy, but we are superior, right? So unless we realize our eternal nature, our eternal nature is not to be in the material world and go from one body to another body. Our eternal nature is to live in spiritual world serving Krishna. And that is the whole idea of this whole Bhagavad Gita, is to actually transition or dovetail or remove those external layerings and come to our pure state, to come to in the state where we can learn how to serve Krishna. So when we go through from chapter 1 to chapter 18, we are actually more and more being cleared in terms of what exactly I should be doing and where do I belong. Like for an example, Bhagavad Gita is designed to answer three questions: who am I, who is God, and what is my relationship with God, and ultimately gives us the process to revive that relationship with. So our relationship with God is existing eternally, but it is covered by the external energy at this moment. And when I understand these questions and when I go through Bhagavad Gita, I'm actually reviving my real consciousness to remember Krishna. Make sense, Prabhuji?
Yeah,
Any questions upcoming?
absolutely. Thank you.
Wonderful. So let's read the text 24 now. Achedyoyam adayoyam. Can you see my screen, Prabhuji? We are on text 24.
Yeah. Achedo yam adatyo
Adayoyam akledyo shoshya evacha.
adayoya uploadaso sya eva ka
Beautiful.
cha
Nitya sarvagata sthanur.
nitya sarva gata swatanar
Sthanur, very nice. Achaloyam sanatanaha.
achaloyam sanatanaha.
Please read the translation.
Yeah. This individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble and can be neither bound nor dried. He is everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same.
Very nice. Thank you for reading this one. So, to complement the previous verse, here it is talked about the eternal nature of the soul, which is everlasting. Though we may have temporary body, which will be lost when we leave this world or when we die, but at the end of the day, the soul is never died. Soul is everlasting. The soul accepts another body and it is present everywhere. This is very important because modern science only thinks about there is the presence of life only on earth planet, and now they are saying, oh, it's also there on the moon planet. But there are various other planets where the living entity can live. Only difference is they need to have that body which can live in that. Like for an example, there are like fishes. They live in water. Can we live in water? We cannot, because that's not our nature. So similar way, to live on moon planet or other planet, there is a certain suitable body which is designed to live there. So soul is present everywhere, not that only on earth planet. It is unchangeable. We covered that aspect some few verses back. Unchangeable means whether I am a human, whether I am an animal, whether I am a bird, or whether I'm a beast, the soul is the same. Whether I am a small boy, whether I'm an adult, whether I'm an old guy, whether I'm this thing, whatever, I'm getting even very old, the soul doesn't change. It remains the same. The size remains the same. What changes is the body. And soul is immovable. Like one may have a question, oh, the soul is within the heart. So what happens when the heart transplant happens? Does the another soul enter? No, the soul still remains. We cannot transfer because we cannot see the soul. So even if heart transplant happens, the soul remains there. And it is immovable and eternally the same, which is covered. Go ahead and read the purport, Prabhuji.
Yeah. All these qualifications of the atomic soul definitely prove that the individual soul is eternally the atomic particle of the spirit soul, and he remains the same atom eternally without change. The theory of monism is very difficult to apply in this case because of the individual soul is never expected to become one homogeneously. After liberation from material contamination, the atomic soul may prefer to remain as a spiritual spark in the efful- effulgent rays of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But the intelligent soul enter into the spiritual planets to associate with the personality of Godhead. The word Sarvaga, Sarvagata, all pervading, is significant because there is no doubt that living entities are all over God's creation. They live on the land, in the water, in the air, within the earth, even within the fire. The belief that they are sterilized in fire is not acceptable because it is clearly stated here that the soul cannot be born by fire. Therefore, there is no doubt that there are living entities also in the sun planet with suitable bodies to live there. If the sun globe is uninhabited, then the word Sarvagata, living everywhere, becomes meaningless.
Beautiful. So we covered that living anywhere aspect, that we just need a suitable body. This is very wonderful point. I want to cover these four lines specifically. What is liberation means, when we realize we are not the body, we are the soul. That itself is the attainment of the liberation. Which means after leaving this material body, the soul does not accept material body, the soul accepts spiritual body. Now there are different levels of liberation. One may attain after liberation from material contamination. The atomic soul may prefer to remain as a spiritual sky and the effulgent rays of supreme personality Godhead, right? So if you remember Vedic cosmology, give me 1 second. I will mention, give me 1 second, I'll pull that. Where is Vedic cosmology? Yes, let me share this and then we will cover briefly on that part. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to, yeah, okay. I will go ahead and share the screen now. Can you see the screen now, Prabhuji?
Yes, I can.
Right? So this is the material, this is the material world. This up to this material world exists in terms of these one universe, right? So as long as we are in this one universe, this is just a zoomed in one universe. We covered this multiple times, but I still want to bring that in. As long as we are in this material world, we are always covered by external energy. Even up to Lord Brahma, we are covered by external energy of the Lord. Our existence in this world is temporary. It could be 100 years, 1,000 years, trillion years, whatever, but it is still temporary. But when soul is free of material contamination, which we were reading, which means I am not covered by the mind, intelligence, ego, and thinking about I am this body. So once you cross over, you can actually attain Brahman Jyoti. One can attain Brahman Jyoti, which is basically entering into the effulgence radiating from the body of the Lord Krishna. Or one could reside in Kailash, one could reside in Aishwaradham. So that's what is being mentioned here. If I go back again to our verse, is mentioned that one can remain as a spiritual sky in the effulgent rays of Supreme Personality of Godhead. But the challenge with that one is living alone, we don't like. We want to have some reciprocation. We want some engagement. We want to communicate. We want to serve. That's our nature. And that's why being in that effulgent rays or Brahman Jyoti will not help. So what intelligent souls do is basically they try to enter into spiritual planets, so associate with the Lord and perform various pastime, participating in Lord's various pastimes. We can be we can be like the parent of Krishna, we can be a friend of Krishna, we can be the servant of Krishna, we can be lover of Krishna. So those roles or those designations or those rasas are only available in highest platform, which is Golok Vrindavan. Make sense, Prabhuji? Any questions or comments?
No, no.
Beautiful. Let's read text 25 now. You can still see my screen, is that right?
Yeah, yeah. So I am
Yes.
actually having a book too, Bhagavad Gita book.
Wonderful. That's even better. Avyaktoyam achintyoyam
Avyaktoyam achintyoyam
अविकार्यो यमुच्यते
अविको यमिच्युते
तस्माद् एवं विदित्वैनं
तस्मादेवं विदित्वनम्
नानुशोचितुम् अर्हसि
सोचे
तुम
अरहर.
अर्हसि. Beautiful, thank you. Would you mind reading the translation?
Sure. It is said that the soul is invisible, inconceivable, and immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body.
Very nice. So,
Wow.
connecting this to the chapter 1, what was Arjuna's reason for not fighting? Three reasons or four reasons. One is compassion. Compassion means how can I kill my relatives? And that is what is being answered here. Second thing which he says is loss of enjoyment, which will come. That argument will be covered in few verses from now. And sinful reaction, destruction of family tradition. So these are the four reasons he gave. And this is the first part, which is compassion. And what is Krishna saying? The soul is invisible. Like the mind, we cannot see the mind. So how can we perceive the soul? We read few verses back, through the consciousness which flows throughout the body, and there are different life airs, and that's how you perceive consciousness. For an example, if a person is dead, our loved one who is ever dead, if you ask them to smile, will they smile? They will not, because the consciousness is gone. So how do we perceive the presence of the soul? We see through consciousness. For an example, I am able to speak, you are able to listen. We are able to penetrate all this knowledge because we have the soul within. There is consciousness, right? So that is what is mentioned here. And it is inconceivable and immutable. Why it is inconceivable? Because this is beyond our tiny brain. A lot of times we need microscope to see tiny objects, but this is even beyond the microscope level. It is, that's why it is inconceivable, and it is immutable. You can't say that. Like for an example, when we have offspring, our children are there. Are they children of the soul? No, they are not children of the soul, right? They are individual soul. They have, by nature's law or based on the power of karma, we have certain relationships, but soul has only one relationship, which is being connected to Krishna, serving Krishna. That is our eternal nature, our eternal relationship. All these relationships which are there in this world are on bodily platform, right? Makes sense. So let's go ahead, and one should not grieve for the body. That's what Arjuna is being told. Go ahead and read the purport, Prabhuji.
As described previously, the magnitude of the soul is so small for our material calculation that he cannot be seen even by the most powerful microscope. Therefore, he is invisible. As far as the soul existence is concerned, no one can establish his existence experimentally beyond the proof of Shruti or Vedic wisdom. We have to accept this truth because there is no other source of understanding the existence of soul, although it is fact by perception. There are many truths we have to accept solely on grounds of superior authority. No one can deny the existence of his father based upon the authority of his mother. There is no source of understanding the identity of the father except by the authority of mother. Similarly, there is no source of understanding the soul except by studying the Vedas. In other words, the soul is inconceivable by human experimental knowledge. The soul is consciousness and conscious. That also is the statement of Vedas, and we have to accept that. Unlike the bodily changes, there is no change in the soul. As eternally unchangeable, the soul remains atomic in comparison to the infinite supreme soul. The supreme soul is infinite. The atomic soul is infinite, infinitesimal.
Yeah.
Therefore, the infinitesimal soul, being unchangeable, can never become equal to the infinite soul or the supreme personality of Godhead. This concept is repeated in Vedas in different ways, just to confirm the stability of conception of the soul. Repetition of something is necessary in order that we understand the matter thoroughly without error.
Very nice. This is very important. You will see Prabhupada multiple times bringing that Mayavad philosophy. So when Prabhupada's disciples were there and Prabhupada would talk about it, and these are foreign disciples, so they have no idea about anything other than this. And they would think that Prabhupada had some, had some conflict with some people. So Mayavadi is a sect of people, and that's why he actually gives them left and right. For an example, sometimes when we have difficulty with others, no, or when we have some relationship with others, we want to actually somehow or other talk bad thing about them. So they thought Prabhupada has some other sect who did not gel with them, and that's why Prabhupada is talking about. But actually, Prabhupada then clarified Mayavad is not the sect of people, but Mayavad is the philosophy which is sometimes also baked in us. Because we think that, I will become God when I just practice spiritual life. And that's how a lot of spiritual organization are portrayed based on that. They say,
Mhm.
Aham Brahmasmi, which means I am God. Right now, I am covered by external energy, but when I revive myself, I'll become God. That's not true. That's completely wrong. And that's what Prabhupada is clarifying. The individual soul will remain individual. The super soul is infinite. We can never become infinite. We may have qualities of infinite. We may have qualities, whatever qualities we have. For an example, um, talking to everyone nicely or taking care of other, having exchange of love. What is that all about? Is basically that's coming from Krishna. Roji, आपका कॉल है इधर, right? That is coming from Krishna, because we are part and parcel. Like for an example, we were just talking about the ocean and the drop of ocean. The ocean is also salty, the drop of ocean is also salty, right?
Yeah.
What is the difference between the drop and the ocean is the quantity. So quality wise, we drive all these qualities from Krishna, but the quantity wise, these may be minimal. Like there are six opulences of God. What are these six opulences? He is the strongest, he is the most famous, he is the richest person, he is the most beautiful, fourth, he is the most renounced, fifth. And what is the sixth opulence? Most beautiful, most rich, most strong. I forgot the sixth opulence. So all these six opulences are in full, 100%. But you see, some people in this world, they are rich, but not that they are infinitely rich. They have 1% or some percent, some people have 5% or 4%. But no one can say, I have 100%. You won't say, find anyone who is most beautiful in this entire universe. We may say that, but that's not true, right? Because for an example, what is Krishna's beauty that lasts forever? So even Miss Universe or Mr. Universe, whoever we call it, is of this world, their beauty lasts for a given period of time. Or person who can be a richest person can be richest person for a given period of time. He cannot be richest person for, because he himself has a limited life, right? But Krishna's beauty and Krishna's six opulences are eternal, and then they are 100% not minimal. So that's what this verse is specifically covering. Any questions or any comments here, Prabhuji?
No. uh, Yeah, good. Really well understood. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Prabhupada's purports are very helpful. So we will read text 26. Please follow along. Atha chainam nityajatam
Chainam nityajatam
nityam va manyase mritam
nityam va
manyase
manyesa
mritam
mritam
तथापि त्वं महाबाहो
tatapi tavyam mahabaho
नैनं शोचितुमर्हसि.
nainam sochit arhasi.
Beautiful. Can you read the translation?
If, however, you think that the soul or symptom of life will always be born and die forever, you still have no lesson to lament, O mighty armed.
So Krishna is putting forward another analogy or another argument here. If you think the soul is always born and die forever, so for an example, we just have one life and then we die. Even if you do so, you still have no reason to lament, because ultimately everything is temporary and everything is whatever is born and it is done. They will not take the birth altogether. So let's read the purport. Go ahead, Prabhuji.
Yeah, there is always a class of philosophers almost akin to the Buddhists who do not believe in the separate existence of soul beyond the body. When Lord Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita, it appears that such philosophers existed and they were known as the Loka Loka
Yatikas.
Yatika and Vaibha
Vaibhasikas.
Vaibhas- Vaibhasikas. Such philosophers maintain that life sometimes take place at a certain mature condition of material combination. The modern material scientists and material philosophers also think similarly. According to them, the body is a combination of physical elements, and at certain stage, the life symptoms develop by interaction of physical and chemical elements. The science of anthropology is based on this philosophy. Currently, many pseudo religions now become fashionable in America are also adhering to this philosophy. These are the nihilistic, non-devotional Buddhist sects. Even if Arjuna did not believe in the existence of soul, as in the Vai- Vaibhasika philosophy, where there would still have been no cause for uh, lamentation. No one laments the loss of a certain bulk of chemicals and stop discharging his prescribed duty. On the other hand, in modern science and scientific warfare, so many tons of chemicals are wasted for achieving victory over the enemy. According to the Vai- Vaibhas- Vaibhasika philosophy, the so-called soul or a atma vanishes along with the deterioration of the body. So, in any case, whether Arjuna accepted the Vedic conclusion that there is an atomic soul or he did not believe in the existence of soul, he had no reason to lament. According to this theory, since there are so many living entities generating out of matter every moment, and so many of them are being vanquished every moment, there is no need to grieve for such incidents. If there is no rebirth for the soul, Arjuna had no reason to be afraid of being affected by sinful reactions due to his killing his grandfather and teacher. But at the same time, Krishna sarcastically addressed Arjuna as
Bahu.
Mahabahu, mighty armed, because he at least did not accept the theory of Vaibhasikas, which leaves aside the Vedic wisdom. As Kshatriya, Arjuna belonged to Vedic culture and it behooved him to continue to follow its principles.
Beautiful, very nice purport. I remember one time my spiritual master was there preaching. One of the Christian came to him. He said, "You are going to hell." Why am I going to hell? Because you are not practicing Jesus Christ. He said that you are going to hell. Why? Because you are not practicing Christianity. Oh, really? So God is partial, which means if I'm following Christianity, then He is partial to them. He said, whatever it is, you are going to hell. So Maharaj asked, so where are you going? He said, I'm going to heaven. So Maharaj responded, better I go to hell. If people like you live in heaven, I don't want to live there, right? Because it's if you are envious and if you think about other people being lower than you, that's not the mentality of heaven and hell. Right? That's not a mentality of heaven. Mentality of heaven means everyone is, according to them, we only reach to heaven. But according to Vedic scripture which we read, above heavens is also temporary. We saw that picture. Is that right, Prabhuji? Heavens is
Yeah.
also in this material world, but our we are eternal soul and we have spiritual identity. So coming, even if we take that idea, say heavens for them is the spiritual world, how can you enter in spiritual world the mentality or with that orthodox thought that God is partial, or if you only practice Christianity then only you go to God? That's not true, right? So that's the point which is being mentioned, because Christianity focuses on one principle, that we don't have rebirth. They don't believe in reincarnation. They don't believe the soul. They even if they believe the soul, like Buddhists, they have a philosophy: after our body is dead, the soul is dead, right? Which is not a Vedic philosophy is all about, because we see people remembering their past lives in their next life, or there are some kind of phobias which people have even in next birth. Like some people are afraid of heights, some people are afraid of water, right? Why? Where is that coming from? Because that is coming from their previous lives, and there are so many proofs or so many documentaries built on that we have rebirth. We actually borrow. And where is that consciousness? The soul travels from one body to another along with the mind and intelligence. That's why we have some impressions which we remember based on the previous life. Make sense, Prabhuji?
Yeah. Can you actually explain Buddha how he is
Yes,
brought
yes,
into this?
very, very good point. So I wanted to think, but I thought, okay, maybe this is not the time. So, Prabhu, Lord Vishnu has 10 incarnation. If you see Dasha Avatar, one of the incarnation is Lord Buddha. Very interesting. God Himself is talking about the science. He is saying that there is the end to the soul, which is very interesting. How can the same God, when comes as Krishna, or he comes and he speaks about the soul is everlasting, but Buddha is saying the soul is temporary, along with the body it destroys. Right? It's conflicting, right? Am I making
Mhm.
sense so far? Now
Correct,
this
correct. Yeah.
this is the point which I want to elaborate on. For an example, one of the time, Prabhupada, when he came to America, I won't take this example and elaborate more on that. One time he came to America. Or like he came to America to preach, right? When he came to America, a lot of hippies who were addicted to the drugs, especially LSD, they were actually thinking this is a higher truth, and they actually left all this and practiced spiritual life. But one time Prabhupada was asked by one of the hippie, Prabhupada, how does spiritual world look like? Prabhupada said, a room filled with LSD. That's a very interesting answer. Now, one may say that's not true, right? Spiritual life is, or spiritual world is beyond the material concept. And LSD is the very lowest one of basically staying high. That's why they will basically take drugs. So why is Prabhupada giving that example? Because that person who is living on the LSD platform or just a drug addict cannot perceive spiritual world with his eyes, because his consciousness is filled thinking about LSD. And that's how they would connect. Another example of Prabhupada. One time, very interestingly, Prabhupada was invited into nude community. So
Mhm.
these people will not wear clothes. Men and women both, they will always be naked. And Prabhupada went there. Prabhupada was doing kirtan and everybody was jumping and dancing. And after the kirtan, when Prabhupada opened the eyes, he saw these people are not wearing clothes. Now one may say, what are you doing here? But Prabhupada said, isn't it amazing to be without the covering? And they cried, they shouted, yeah, yeah, yes, yes, yes. Prabhupada said, imagine when you remove your material covering and when you have spiritual covering, how can you perceive? What a wonderful way to perceive God. They were like, yes, 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 this is perfect, because their consciousness was at that platform. And Prabhupada wanted to connect them to God. And Prabhupada used this medium. How one can be blissful when we don't have this material covering? Because everything is limited and temporary because of this temporary body. But when we relinquish or when we leave this temporary material body, when we acquire spiritual identity, how blissful it would be. Now, coming back to Buddha's philosophy, before Buddha came, What people were doing, they were using Vedic scriptures, and there are four Vedas which we mentioned about: Rigveda, Atharveda, Yajurveda, and Samaveda. In them, there is an elaborate description about animal killing as a sacrifice. So people were killing animals left and right, and they were eating those animals. And when Buddha came, he was very compassionate, and people were not actually at that consciousness where they can understand this philosophy which we are reading in Bhagavad Gita. So what he said is, one should not perform any you should not kill anyone. Monist philosophy, what is Buddhist philosophy, is that you should what is that, ahimsa. One should not do any himsa. So that is the philosophy he brought in. And he, because people will not understand the science of the soul, that soul is eternal, because if you give them an idea the soul is everlasting, a person who is killing animal will say, yeah, the animal has also
Correct.
the soul, then that will never die, right? So what is the
Okay.
problem of killing?
That's where he's connected here. Okay, got it, got it.
So that is the point which is brought in here, and he said one should not practice himsa. He brought in the monist philosophy of ahimsa. So you see Buddhist people, if you see in any go in Buddhist monastery, they are very strict. They wear masks, they don't wear any chappal, they wear only white clothes, and then they walk with the very barefoot. They don't eat anything which is grown under the earth and all various things. They are very limited in terms of what they eat and what they drink, because they feel we don't want to kill even the insects, which is next to impossible. Even if you're walking on the street, you're still killing without realizing that one. But at the end of the day, that's the philosophy which Buddha brought in. Makes sense, Prabhuji?
Yeah, yeah,
Very good question here. We will move to the next verse. Can we cover one more verse? Is that okay?
yeah,
Is
yeah,
that
yeah.
okay?
Sure, 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 sure,
Okay,
sure.
beautiful. Text 27. जातस्या हि ध्रुवो मृत्युर्
जातस्य हि ध्रुवो मृत्युर्
ध्रुवामां जन्म मृतस्य च
ध्रुवाणां जन्म मृत्युस्य
तस्मात् आपरिहार्यर्थे
तस्मात् अपार्याहेरते
न त्वं शोचितुमर्हसि.
न त्वं सित्वं हर्षति.
Arhasi, beautiful. Can you read the translation, Prabhu?
Who has taken his birth is sure to die, and after death one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, in unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament.
Amazing. Same point which is being mentioned in different ways. Body has a manufacturing date and expiry date. Manufacturing date is called as birth date, and expiry date is called as death day. But everything in this material world is a temporary, except the soul, except the spiritual world, except anything connected to spiritual world. Right? So one who has
Yeah.
taken his birth is sure to die today or tomorrow. Like unfortunate situation, what happened in Ahmedabad with that air crash, right? So many people
Yeah.
left this world, right? What does it show? That everything in this world is temporary. We have no idea when is our death day comes. For an example, those students who were sitting in the university having their lunch, nobody knew that that's their last lunch. They did not flew in the aeroplane. One may say, oh, you know what, I will not fly in the Air India aeroplane only. Okay, that's fine, you can think over that. But it's not that the only airplane crash happened for Air India. There are other airlines also where the air crash happened, right? And even for people who did not fly in the aeroplane, they were sitting in the university, or their not university, their um, what was that, um,
Medical college.
college, correct? And they were actually sitting there and having their lunch.
Yeah.
They also died. What does it show? That our presence in this world is very temporary.
Correct. Yeah.
Nobody knows what is our expiry date. Fortunately, when we get the item from the market, you go to Costco, Walmart, Kroger, Meyer, you have manufacture date and it says best buy. We unfortunately The date is there, Best Buy, but we can't see that. And these incidents actually should remind us and break our faith in this material world that everything is temporary. So please go ahead and read the purport.
Sure. One has to take a birth according to one's activities of life, and after finishing one term of activities, one has to die to take birth for the next. In this way, one is going through one cycle of birth and death after another without liberation. The cycle of birth and death does not, however, support unnecessary murder, slaughter, and war. At the same time, violence and war are inevitable factors in human society for keeping law and order. The Battle of Kurukshetra, being the will of the Supreme, was an inevitable event, and to fight for the right cause is the duty of Kshatriya. Why should Arjuna be afraid of or aggravated at the death of his relative since he was discharging his proper duty? He did not deserve to break the law, therefore, becoming subjected to the reaction of sinful acts of which he was so afraid. By avoiding the discharge of his proper duty, he would not be able to stop the death of his relatives and he would be degraded due to his selection of the wrong path of action.
Very beautiful. Thank you for reading this, Prabhu. This is a very important part. Arjuna is being told by Krishna to fight and kill the opposite side. Not that they will not die, everyone has to die one or the other day. One time when I lost my wife, it was a very very emotional churn for me as well as the family. And one devotee who came and he shared a beautiful point in connection to this verse. He said, Prabhu, I have a question for you. I know it's difficult, but I want to ask you something. Do you think she was going to live forever? I said no. So anyhow, one or the other day, she was supposed to leave, and you are going to leave as well. Everyone in the family is going to leave. So what difference does it make? One is experiencing that separation which is there. Again, I'm not saying to be a stone-hearted, but one has to understand this, that this world is temporary. As long as your expectation is correct, you will not suffer. For an example, say you go to Hawaii, and you know the beaches in Hawaii are very beautiful, very crystal clean. When you go there and you see all garbage there, you'll be disappointed. Why? Because the expectation was that when I go there, the beaches will be crystal clean. Make sense? Like for
Yeah.
an example, there is some season now. Of course, just a month back or half month back, all of a sudden there was all of winter signs. You would wear the jackets and go out, and you would be disappointed. Oh, this is summer, right? Why is it cold now? Because what we expect that in summer it should be warm weather, right? In material world, our our expectation is that, oh, you know what, everything will be nice, everything will go as per my plan, I will live forever. Is that the right expectation? No. Material world is designed to give us suffering. Happiness is this much, suffering is this much. One has to realize. It took some time for me to realize. And material world is temporary. Our existence in the material world is temporary. When that expectation is set from material world, when things become chaotic in our life, we don't become frustrated. Frustration is what? Frustration is the gap between our expectation and what is being given. If the expectation is close to what is given, for an example, you already know what material world has to offer. When miseries comes, when difficulties come, you don't get frustrated because you had your expectation that I shouldn't be expecting things go in my way. Like so many people who come as a student here to study, losing the job, or people who are working for years, working for a company, they lose the job. Now one may say, why it is happening to me? Right? Well, straightforward answer is isn't it expected the world will not revolve as I want it? Things will not go as the way I want it. For some people, it's losing the job. For some people who have the job, they have to work hard to prove out. And for some people, to maintain their position, whatever way, there is one or the other way, frustration is there. For an example, student who don't have H1B visa, they feel when I get the H1B visa, then my life will be perfect. People who have H1B visa, they will say when I have a green card, my life will be perfect. People have green card, they will say when I have citizenship, then my life will be perfect. When people have citizenship, they lose the job, they feel if I have a job, that will be perfect. Well, you see, nothing is remain, it's just contextual. Everything in this world is contextual. For an example, a person who does not have a good health, he thinks, if I have a good health, my world will be perfect. People have good health. When they don't have money, they say, if I have money, everything will be perfect. People who have money who do not have health, they will say, oh, if I have health, then everything will be perfect. It's a cycle.
Very true. Very true. I am with you. Yeah, you covered certain portion of actually the Indian people living here, right? Then it starts with kids, their education. They have to go to the best colleges, and they should, get a good job, and then they should get married, and they should have a kids, and they should have enough money where we have to, help them out, and this is just keeps moving on. There's no end here.
Right. Our parents thought that for us, we thought for our kids think for their children. That has been happening for generations. Like I want to end with this class with this thing. Outside my door, there is a nest on the lamp. So there is a mother bird, and then she had one child baby. Now this guy did not know how to fly, but they were ruining the whole balcony with whatever number one, number two they do. So I was like, what do I do? Anyway, it's a child, it'll learn. So one day, I was just opening the door. This guy was fearful but does not know how to fly. So he was there. So that day evening, I saw mother came, and this guy was on the edge of the lamp. He fell down on the floor. Now he can't go up. Mother cannot lift him up, right? I was fearful what would happen if a cat comes, she will eat him because he is on the floor easily. Now he was trying to learn how to fly, but he couldn't do that. I was seeing him. One day I opened the door, I didn't see him, so I was scared. Maybe a cat, if there is a cat. So he was on the corner. I didn't see him. So when I saw him, he got fearful. And he started using wings and he flew actually. And they didn't come
Wow.
back after that in that nest. Now, what
Nice.
is this teaching us? Coming back to this word, that as a parent, one think, oh, you know what? I will train the kids and all that stuff. They will learn how to fly. Then their kids learn how to fly. They they yearn for the food like us. There is no difference. What they hunt for is the food. We all need food. We may have a sophisticated way of living. We may have sophisticated way of food and all that stuff. At the end of the day, the thing is the same: eating, mating, and defending. These are the four things we do as a human, birds, or animal, anything. I want to eat, I want to sleep, I want to enjoy opposite sex, and I want to protect myself with health insurance, mobile insurance. Oh my goodness, what to talk about, tons of insurance. That's the unfortunate situation. So one has to realize, coming back to this verse, one has to realize, set up a right expectation this material world. Our existence in this world is temporary. Then the same spiritual life which we practice give us gravity. Otherwise, it just tu having real Hare and real Krishna comes in when we are in difficulty. For people who have their last breath, or you are drowning in an ocean, when you need help, how loudly you will call. You will not think about what will happen to my child, what will happen to my bank balance, what will happen to 401k. Are I'm drowning now. I have to call for help, and God only can help. So with that mood, if we chant the name of Krishna, that is real chanting. Right. So with that, we will together chant one round. Any questions or comments or reflections before we get there, Prabhuji?
I'm good, thank you. I don't know if I will continue with the chanting because I have to leave now.
Yes, so no problem. We will continue next week or next week. But one request I have, please chant every day one round. If you can do
Yeah,
in
I've been doing little, but the whole round I'm not able to do
please try.
because of the travel. See, I will try that. Thank you. So if
Yes,
you're doing it, I can just do it for a little bit and then start going.
yes. Okay, let me know whenever you want to pause. Okay, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
I'll recite couple of verses for both of us, and then we will chant Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminati Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.